Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a book haul because it's been about 2-ish months since the last time that I posted a book haul, and since then I have bought and received so many different books that I can't wait to tell you all about. But before jumping into all of the books, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Squarespace, because Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website. You can start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system. You can choose from professionally curated layout and styling options. I can tell you that I definitely don't know anything when it comes to website design, but Squarespace makes it so easy to get started. They have so many fun different options to choose from. You can sell your products and services with an online store. Whether you sell physical goods, digital content, or services, Squarespace has all the tools you need to start selling online. You can create your own online aesthetic with dozens of modern options, then connect social media accounts in a few clicks to extend your brand's footprint. So you can check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/gabbyreads to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get into the book haul. One book that I recently received in the mail from Dutton Books that I am so excited about is this one called 13 Months Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano, and this is from the same author as Dead 11. This is a new horror book that's going to be coming out here pretty soon, and I am so incredibly excited for this one. I don't know too much about this story premise-wise other than that we're following this librarian named Piper, and it says that she can tell right away that there's something strange about the new girl in 8th grade, and like her mother comes with her to school every single day, and there seems to be something odd with this young girl. It says, what's up with the rumors that Avery's mother is a witch, and did her family really used to live in a haunted house? Oh my god, this sounds like it's gonna be so fun. I've actually been considering having this one as a book troop pick option later this year, maybe for October, so we'll see if that ends up being a thing, but I'm very excited to read this one. Speaking of the book troop, I also recently went out and bought How to Survive a Horror Story, because this one ended up winning the poll that I posted to my Patreon, and this one is going to be our September book troop pick. Oh, the premise for this one sounds like everything, and also look at how cool the sprayed edges are on this copy. This one sounds like it's gonna be such a fun and chaotic time because we're following a legendary horror author who invites a group of writers to her house, but it says they're gonna be playing a game. The rules are simple: solve the riddle and progress to the next room. If they don't, the manor will take one of them for itself. Like, what do you mean? It's like the house is hungry for them? Oh my god, this sounds like it's gonna be absolute chaos, so I hope that you can join us in September to read along with this one. I recently picked up a few books from Book of the Month as well. I got These Summer Storms as well as How Freaking Romantic. I did end up reading These Summer Storms at the end of July, so if you missed my July wrap-up, I will have that link down below. This one ended up only being 3 stars for me. I thought it was just okay. In this story, we're following a family of billionaires who are spending time on an island after their father has recently passed away, and there's like an inheritance involved. And then I also picked up How Freaking Romantic, and this is one that's still on my TBR. This is a romance book that I had never heard of before it was a Book of the Month selection. This one sounds like it's gonna have like a hate to love vibe because they get off on the wrong foot and then he ends up being like her new colleague kind of a situation, so it sounds like it could be fun. And then Atria Books ended up sending me a few different things that I'm really excited for. Probably the one that I'm most excited for is The Midnight Knock by John Fram. This one is an ARC copy that I have. It goes on sale in October, and you know, John Fram is the author of The Brightlands, which is like one of my favorite horror books of all time, and this one describes itself as being for fans of Blake Crouch, which like, what? That definitely has me intrigued. It says a mind-bending, locked room thriller about a group of strangers trapped in a remote Texas motel as they race against time to save their lives? That's like crazy. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean they're racing against time to save their lives? It just sounds like this book is gonna be absolute chaos, and I cannot wait to read it. They also sent this one, which is Every Step She Takes by Alison Cotron. This one is also an ARC copy that I have. This one's going on sale in September. This is from the same author as The Charm Offensive and Kiss Her Once for Me. This author has written so many 5-star romances at this point that like I'm just so desperately excited to read this one. And in this book, we're following this 35-year-old woman named Sadie who is just now discovering that she might be queer, and so we kind of like follow her story as she's like navigating potential feelings that she might have for a woman. And I personally love that. Like, I feel like there needs to be more stories about people, you know, that are like a little bit older, like 35, discovering that they might be queer for the first time. I love stories like this, so I can't wait to check out this book. They also sent me this new thriller called With Friends Like These by Alyssa Lee, and this one is going to be going on sale in November. This one is so short. It's just about 230 pages, and this one says 5 close friends have played a secret game for decades. When a small fortune awaits the winner of one final round, deadly consequences emerge from old lies. Ooh, Ooh, and this one's a debut thriller. It sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I might actually try to read this one soon because it's so short and I'm very tempted. Another thriller that they sent is Keep This For Me by Jennifer Fawcett, and this one is going on sale in October. This one says a woman sets out to uncover the connection between a notorious serial killer and her mother's disappearance, a mystery that spanned generations and returned to haunt her once again. I feel like there's been a lot of serial killer type of books like this publishing recently. Like, that premise totally reminds me of Man Made of Smoke by Alex North, but I love that this partially takes place in August 1993. That sounds fun. I've just been loving books that take place in the 90s lately, especially in like the horror thriller stuff. It's very nostalgic, so I can't wait to pick up this book. And then they also sent this one called An Academic Affair by Jodi McAllister. This one is also an ARC copy that I have. It's going on sale in November, but God, I love how bookish and how cute this cover is. This one says a charming new romance about two English professors who embark on a fake relationship, only to discover that it may be harder to pretend than they realized. Oh my God, this is so up my alley, because not only do I love fake dating, like that's one of my top favorite things, but like two English professors, like, oh my God, this is gonna be so cute. So look at how cute when you like flip through the book, there's like little stacks of books everywhere, on there and on here. Like, so cute. The attention to detail. Okay, and then next, Penguin Random House ended up sending me quite a few different things. And one of the books they recently sent me was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which this was probably like my most anticipated book of this year. But I did end up reading this one recently. I'll have the vlog linked down below if you missed it. But unfortunately, this one only ended up being around like 3 stars for me. Like, I thought it was okay, but it was definitely not my favorite from Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is so unfortunate. They also sent this one called Smile for the Cameras by Miranda Smith. And this one just sounds like it's gonna be fun because I really love the inclusion of like horror movies in my like horror books and my thrillers. This one says an actress desperate to reclaim her fame must survive the real life plot of the horror movie that made her famous. And it says that this is a psychologically twisted locked room thriller. I've heard a lot of people compare this one to Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay, so that definitely has me intrigued. They also ended up sending me The Compound, which this is one that I just recently read for Summerween. This one is all about this reality show where like the women are living in this compound and the men are like out in the desert and they have to get to the compound. And then it's kind of very similar to Love Island from what I've heard, where like they have to share a bed with the opposite sex every single night in order to stay. They have to do these crazy different challenges to earn money, all kinds of fun things. And I was having a really great time with this book up until the very end. I feel like the ending was so underwhelming and unsatisfying in my opinion. But otherwise, I had a really fun time listening to this one on audio. It was around a 3-star for me. They also ended up sending Don't Open Your Eyes by Liv Constantine. This one is a new thriller from the same author as The Last Mrs. Parrish. But this one especially intrigued me because it says that we're following this woman who starts having these nightmares about stuff that's happening to her family. Like, she'll have nightmares that her family is in danger and then her nightmares start to come true. I actually recently just finished reading this book for a vlog that I recently did, which you will be seeing very soon. And then they also ended up sending me Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. And this is another thriller that is very hyped right now. It's very buzzy. It was actually a Good Morning America book club pick. And it's very popular because this is from the same author as A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one is about this woman named Jet who gets attacked on Halloween night. Like, somebody hits her over the head and she has such a traumatic brain injury afterwards that she's probably gonna die within the next 7 days because of complications. They're actually really impressed that she survived the attack at all, but because she's probably gonna die within the next 7 days, she decides that during those 7 days, she's going to try to solve her own murder. Another book they recently just sent me is this one called Myra, and this is a horror book that I am so excited about. I might actually try to read this one in the month of August because I can't wait. And this one is described as an eerie, hypnotic debut about friendship, desire, and memory, and it's set in Florida. I've heard that this one is very like fever dream-like with the writing. It also takes place in a Cuban neighborhood just west of Miami, and it's about two like childhood friends reuniting but things like not being exactly what they seem. Oh, I don't know, man. I'm so excited to read this one. I also just love this cover, like the way the red and the green are against each other. God, it's beautiful. And then they also ended up sending me a copy of As You Wish, which this is a kind of like contemporary fiction book. I think that sounds so fun because it follows these 3 different women who are in Seoul in South Korea. And it says that they're on this family vacation when they visit an enchanted waterfall and make a wish under a full moon. And it says overnight everything changes. And it's like the women get exactly what they wished for, I think. Dude, I just love shit like this. Like, I love the idea of reading about a magic waterfall that grants your wishes. It sounds right up my alley, so I can't wait to read it. They also sent a copy of The Next Chapter, which this is a romance romance from the same author as Just As You Are, which is a queer romance that I read probably last year or the year before that I really liked. And this one says, when a famous actress meets an ordinary bookseller, sparks fly. I love how bookish this cover is, by the way. Like, I've been thinking about maybe reading this one for the video idea that I want to do where I like read books that take place in bookstores, because this one looks like it's giving me all the bookstore vibes. And then they also sent me a copy of Blood Over Brighthaven, and this one is actually a fantasy book that I know nothing about. I really don't know too much about this one. All I know is that my friend Ariane, that's on my Patreon, she highly recommended this book to me as something that I might like since I'm trying to dabble with fantasy a little bit more this year. So I don't really know what this one's about, but I saw it being offered and I was like, you know what, I'll give this one a shot. The premise for this one just says, the first woman ever admitted to a prestigious order of mages unravels a secret conspiracy that could change the practice of magic forever. And this one is a standalone novel, and it says that it incorporates elements of science and philosophy into dark academia. So this does sound like something I could be into, even though I don't read a lot of fantasy. You'll have to let me know what are your thoughts if you've read this one, because I have been hearing mostly good things from everybody who's read it. All right, and then next up, Berkeley ended up sending me a few different things that I'm so excited about, like Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. This one is a new thriller that I just cannot wait to read, because we're following this woman who is actually this elderly woman. She's actually a retired serial killer herself. Then her life gets disrupted by an unexpected visitor. To protect her secret, there's only one option left. What's another murder? So it's about like a retired old lady serial killer coming back to kill again. This sounds like it's gonna be absolutely incredible. And you know, like Samantha Downing, she has had a few different like hits and misses with me, but this one sounds like it's gonna be so fun, and I definitely want to read this one in the month of August. They also ended up sending me a copy of The Possession of Alba Diaz, and this is by Isabel Cañas, who's the same author as Vampires of El Norte. I feel like this author is another one that's very like hit or miss for me when it comes to the horror stuff, mostly because a lot of the horror from this author is like historical horror, which is not always my favorite, but I really do love this author's writing in general, so I always want to pick up the new stuff. This one says, when a demonic presence awakens deep in a Mexican silver mine, the young woman it seizes must turn to the one man she shouldn't trust. See, this one takes place in 1765, which it's definitely historical, so like we'll see if this will end up being my thing, but I am really excited to give this book a shot. And then they also ended up sending me a copy of This Cursed House, which this one is a horror book that ended up coming out last year, and it was really big during like the Goodreads Choice Awards. I was seeing it everywhere. It sounds like it's gonna be so fun because it says, in the Southern Gothic horror debut, a young black woman abandons her life in 1960s Chicago for a position with a mysterious family in New Orleans, only to discover the dark truth. I've heard that this one has really great like haunted house vibes, and even though this one is technically historical fiction, like it's the 1960s, you know, like it's not that historical, at least compared to like the last book that I just mentioned. So hopefully this one is a good time. I feel like this would be the perfect book to read this October. Next up, Harper Collins ended up sending me a few different things, one of those things being Evenings and Weekends. This is a book that first published in 2024, I think last year, and ever since I've just been seeing it around everywhere. And I'm like, that cover is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. I love the yellow against the backdrop of the city, like so beautiful. And this one just says that it's a stunning novel that follows a vibrant, multi-generational cast of characters through a London heatwave as their simmering tensions and secrets come to a head over a feverish, life-changing weekend. I do love books like this that take place all over the course of a weekend, and I just really love the idea of this. I've heard that the writing in this is absolutely stunning and that you really connect with the characters. It's especially the blurbs on the front cover that make me so intrigued, because it says, electric and intimate, a tender portrait of contemporary queer life. And then it says, a complex love letter to the city. I'm really excited to read this one. Like, hopefully I can get to it before the end of summer, because there's something about this that screams summertime to me. Maybe it's because the characters are all dealing with a heat wave, and I feel like I'd be able to relate better if I read it in the summertime. Also ended up sending me a copy of We Are All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter, and this one is the new Karen Slaughter. I actually didn't even realize that Karen Slaughter had a new release coming out this year. This one says, the first thrilling mystery in the new North Fall series, and it says, until the night of the fireworks when two teenage girls vanish and the town ignites. And we follow this officer named Emmy Clifton, and it says that for her this feels personal because she turned away when her best friend's daughter needed help, and now she must bring her home. This one also sounds like it's gonna be a really good thriller. I mean, Karen Slaughter is known for writing some of the most grotesque and like intense and difficult to read thrillers that I've read. So I'm curious to see if this book is also going to be as dark as her other ones. And then they also ended up sending a copy of Her Many Faces. And this one has been described as a literary kind of mystery book that I am so intrigued by. I've seen a lot of people compare this one to Notes on an Execution, which that's one of my favorite books of all time. So I am very curious about this one because in this book, we're following the story of this girl named Catherine Cole, but it says, what is her true story? Because we're following from the perspective of 5 men who've known her. So it says we follow her father, her childhood friend, her lover, her lawyer, and a journalist. So we only get her story through the perspective of men who have known her, which does sound a lot like Notes on an Execution. So I'm just so excited to read this book, and I hope that it's as great as I'm hoping it'll be. All right, and then next up, St. Martin's ended up sending me a few different things. One of the things they sent is We Met Like This by Casey West, and this one is an ARC copy that I have. This one's going on sale in September, but this one is the first adult romance book from Casey West, which is why I was so excited to get my hands on this book, because Casey West has written a lot of young adult books in the past that I used to really enjoy, and so I'm so excited to see more like young adult romance authors writing their first adult rom-coms. And in this story, we're following this woman named Margot, and she is an assistant to a literary agent, so she definitely works in like the book publishing world, and it's about how she's like so desperate to have a meet cute, like she wants to meet somebody in a really cute way, but then she keeps running into the same guy on her dating apps named Oliver. And I did end up reading this one very recently for a vlog that you're gonna see from me very soon, so I can't wait to share all of my thoughts on this one. They also ended up sending this thriller called Party of Liars, which this one, I'm not gonna lie, like this cover, this is like one of my least favorite book covers I think that I've ever seen. Like I really don't like this, but I'm really excited to read this book anyway because the premise sounds like it's gonna be so fun. We're following this young girl's 16th birthday party, and it's taking place in Texas. And it says, just before the candles on the cake are blown out, a body falls from the balcony onto the dance floor below. And then we have a killer guest list of everybody who is at this party. Dude, I love the idea of reading about like a 16th birthday party gone wrong and like somebody gets murdered. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I've been hearing from friends that have been reading this one that it's a fun time. So I think I am gonna try to read this one at some point in the month of August. They also ended up sending me an ARC copy of The Haunting of Payne Hollow. And this is by Kelly Armstrong. This one is gonna be going on sale in the month of October. This one says it's a nail-biting supernatural horror about a haunted lakeside property and twisted family secrets. So it says that her grandfather passes away and he left her the very valuable lakefront property where the family cottage sits. There's only one catch: she needs to stay in the cottage for a month. So I'm guessing the place is gonna be like totally spooky, right? I wonder if Payne's Hollow has anything to do with Sleepy Hollow, or if they just both have Hollow in the name of the town, because I'm actually gonna be going to Sleepy Hollow for the first time later this year, and I'm wondering if this would be a good book to read while I'm there, but maybe it has nothing to do with Sleepy Hollow and it's just called Payne's Hollow. I don't know. Either way, I'm really excited to read this one. And then they also ended up sending me a copy of this one called Give Me a Reason. And this one says it's a modern retelling of Jane Austen's Persuasion. It says a K-drama actress gets a second chance at love. So I know that I don't always love second chance romances, but because this one involves a K-drama actress, I was like, I have to. And also the premise sounds so cute because it says for 10 years, she's told herself that this guy Frederick was in her past. She ended up dropping out of UC San Diego to pursue an acting career in Korea, and then he ended up following his dreams of becoming a firefighter in Culver City. And it says when she returns to Los Angeles, she finds out that she and Frederick are in the same wedding, and she's a bridesmaid and he's a groomsman. Dude, I love that. That's one of my favorite things in a second chance romance I've discovered. Ever since reading The X-Files, I love a second chance when they meet each other again at a wedding. Oh my god, it's so fun. So I cannot wait to read this one. Avon Books ended up sending me a few different romances as well. Oh, I've been in such a romance mood lately, so I'm really excited for these. This one is called Lucky Break, and this one says when a spat of bad luck upends her meticulously planned life, Eliza moves to a charming and mysterious Midwestern lake town where she just might find herself while trying to find the truth. And it says that this one is for fans of Beth O'Leary and Catherine Center, which that does intimidate me a little bit because I wasn't the biggest fan of some books from those authors, but I am so in the mood lately to read a romance book that takes place in a little lake town. They also sent this one called Last Night Was Fun. This one says it's You've Got Mail meets The Hating Game, which The Hating Game is like one of my all-time favorites, so that definitely pulled me in right away. It says vying for a promotion against a bitter rival. As the only female data analyst for a professional baseball team, Emmy finds solace in a text-flirting relationship that started as a wrong number exchange, unaware that the man she's texting is the one she's fighting for the promotion. I'm a really big baseball fan, by the way, so this does have me very excited to read a book like this. I love that she's the only female data analyst that works for a baseball team. Like, that sounds so great. And they also also ended up sending me a copy of The Build a Boyfriend Project by Mason Deaver. And this is once again another example of a mostly young adult author that is publishing their first adult romance book. But this one says Mason Deaver's adult romance debut follows a journalist in a dead-end job who agrees to teach his disastrous blind date how to be a better boyfriend. And it says readers will delight in this sweet and steamy queer romance with trans representation. That's amazing. I can't wait to read this one. It looks so cute. And then I recently received 2 books from Tor that are probably going to be slightly outside of my comfort zone, but like I'm trying to do that a little bit more this year. One of them is this book called Cinder House. And this is one that is a tiny little novella that just sounded kind of interesting. It's a Cinderella retelling, and Cinderella retellings are always known to be like some of my favorite kinds of retellings. Like the book Cinder, for example, is like one of my favorites. And this one says it's a queer gothic romance perfect for fans of T. Kingfisher. This one sounds especially unique though because it says Ella is a haunting. She was murdered at 16 and her ghost is furiously trapped in her father's house, invisible to everyone except her stepmother and stepsisters. So it's like if Cinderella was murdered and she's a ghost. It just sounds like it's going to be so unique and so fun, and I do think this one leans a little bit more fantasy, which is why it's outside of my comfort zone, but because it's a novella, I was like, I want to try it anyways. And then they also ended up sending me a copy of The Spell Shop, and look at those purple sprayed edges. Oh, so beautiful. This one sounds like it's going to be a little bit of like a cozy kind of fantasy book. The premise just kind of reminds me of like Legends and Lattes. I think it's taking place in this like fantasy world, and it says a revolution begins and the library goes up in flames. She and Kaz flee with all the spellbooks they can carry and head to a remote island that she never thought she'd see again, her childhood home. There's a very handsome neighbor that she starts to bond with, and it sounds like it's going to be a cozy time because it says she opens the island's first ever and much needed secret spell shop. It sounds like it's going to be really cute, and I've been hearing really good things about this one, so I just decided to give it a shot. And then also recently Kayla from Francisco Collado ended up sending me Spy Family Volume 13, and I'm so excited to read this one because, you know, I'm such a big fan of Spy Family, and I've been meaning to continue in this series, so thank you so much to Kayla for sending me this one. I can't wait. Spy Family is one of my favorite manga series, and I always recommend for people that are just getting into manga, if they're looking for somewhere to start, I always say Spy Family because I feel like it's the most universal. I also wanted to take a second to show you some books that I've recently hauled from my library, because libraries now need our support more than they ever have before, and it's so important to utilize your local library because it's really good for your community. And some books that I've picked up from my library recently include Jawbone and then The Memory Collectors. I recently just read Jawbone for that Reddit reading vlog that I just did, so I'll have that linked down below if you missed that video. Then I also recently picked up The Memory Collectors, and this one is a sci-fi book that I've been so excited to check out. This one just says 4 strangers time travel to the past and find themselves stuck on the day all their lives were changed. So like it involves time travel, it involves memories, like sign me up, dude. That's my favorite kind of book. I mean, I'm definitely hoping to read this one very soon because, you know, it is a library checkout, so I don't get this one for too long. So hopefully I will be reading this one in the month of August. And then let me show you all the books that I've bought recently. I recently went crazy in Half Price Books. I mean, I actually had a few trips to a Half Price Books recently because I don't have one that close to me. I mean, the closest Half Price Books to me is about like an hour and a half away, so I don't get to go very often, but I actually have gone a few times just within the last few weeks because I recently went and I bought a copy of Perfume and Pain and American Rapture, and there I was able to find the aardvark copies of both of these books, which I personally love. The aardvark versions of these hardcovers, I think they're so buttery soft and just so nice. American Rapture is a horror book that I've been curious about for a while because it's from the same author as Mayfly. Mayfly was one that I didn't really care for, but this is one that I thought might be more up my alley because this one involves this like virus, kind of like pandemic, apocalyptic kind of a situation that I think sounds kind of fun. But I think this one might also be heavy on like the religious themes, so I don't know if it's gonna be for me, but I wanted to check it out anyway. And Perfume and Pain just sounds like it could be one of those books that's like right up my alley because we're following like an unhinged female main character, and that just sounds like everything that I need right now. And then most recently, the last time that I just went to the Half Price Books, I ended up walking out with 4 things. One of the things that I ended up buying was Fan Service by Rosie Danan. This is a book that I've already read, but I actually checked it out from the library when I read the book, so I didn't have a physical copy to own, and because this is one of my favorite romance books that I've read this year, I just really wanted to own a copy. That's like the one thing that's really difficult about when you have a library book is that I lose all of my little annotations that I had, but all that means is that maybe I'll have to read this again sometime soon so that I can annotate it. And then I also ended up getting a copy of The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han because I've recently really gotten obsessed with this show with my mom. Like we just started watching it like a few weeks ago and we are now fully caught up on the show, and I am just loving it so much. And I never really had any desire to read the book series, to be honest, but you know, I did realize that this is the same author as To All the Boys I've Loved Before, before, which I actually did really enjoy those books many years ago when I was younger. So I thought maybe it would be fun to give this book series a shot, especially since I am loving the show so much and they look like they are such quick and easy reads. So I went for it. It was only $5 at a half price books. Like, how could I say no? Okay, these next two romance books, I feel like I'm gonna get some side eyes and some questions about like, what are you doing? Why would you get those? Because I ended up picking up Twisted Love by Anna Huang, as well as Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Listen, I know like nothing about these books except that I am seeing them absolutely everywhere. I think these are really big on like book talk right now, especially, but I am so in my romance era right now that like I just want to pick up the popular romance books and see if they're any good, you know, because I keep feeling like I get proven wrong time and time again. Like sometimes when I don't think I'm gonna like something, it ends up the exact opposite. Like say for example, like Lights Out, I was so sure that I was not gonna like Lights Out, and then I really loved it. So now I'm like, okay, maybe I need to try some of these other really popular romances right now. Without even knowing really what these ones are about, I just decided to go for it because they were cheap and it was at a half price books. Like each one of these were only like $7. So like, I don't even know, like, do these ones involve sports? I think this one involves rugby and it says it takes place on a college campus. And this one, I have no idea. It says the man has an icy exterior, her brother's best friend, her neighbor. I don't know anything about these, but I'm gonna read them. I also ended up recently getting copies of A Short Stay in Hell as well as The Stepford Wives. I recently read both of these in the video where I read some horror books recommended on Reddit. I'm probably gonna be unhauling The Stepford Wives very soon because this one just didn't really work for me, but A Short Stay in Hell ended up becoming a new favorite 5-star book for me. This one is a novella as well, by the way. It's only like 100 pages. So if you want to hear all of my thoughts on this book and why it was 5 stars, I'll have that vlog linked down below if you missed it. I also ended up finding a copy of Meet Me at the Crossroads by Megan Giddings, and this one is actually the ARC copy that I found at my bookstore. My bookstore does this thing where they like recycle the ARCs by like, you can donate to the bookstore and take an ARC home. So I found it there and I'm so excited to have this book in my hands because I really want to read this one soon. It says it's a new novel about two brilliant sisters and what happens to their undeniable bond when a mysterious and possibly perilous new world beckons. It's like these doors start to appear and the doors lead them to like new dimensions. I don't know, it sounds like it's gonna be so interesting and so right up my alley. Also during Summerween, I ended up hauling 2 books when I went to the Value Village, and that is Billy Summers by Stephen King and Babel by R.F. Kuang. And now I'm a little bit nervous. You know, ever since hauling both of these books, I've gotten so many comments from people saying that they don't think I'm gonna like either one of these. Because I've heard since Billy Summers mainly follows from the perspective of like this detective-y hitman-like character, Billy Summers, people don't think I'm gonna be into it. And so now I'm a little bit scared because of that. And then also Babel, I mean, I should have known. I know this one's definitely outside of my comfort zone because it's like historical fiction, kind of fantasy, you know, like dark academia. There's a lot of talk about language in this book, and it takes place in 1828. I've just been so curious about this one because of how much I loved Yellowface. Like, I really want to try to read more from R.F. Kuang, but like, I'm gonna go into these books with some very low expectations because I know they're a little bit outside of my comfort zone with what I usually like. And then lastly, a book that I recently bought from my library. My library is so awesome, by the way, because in the front of the library, they'll always have this section where they have books for sale, and the books are always only like $3 or $4. Like, they are so cheap, and I always get really surprised when they have a lot of new releases over there. Like this book called All Fours by Miranda July. This is a literary fiction book that I've just been hearing so much about recently, and I literally found it at my library for $3. This one says a semi-famous artist announces her plan to drive cross-country from Los Angeles to New York City. 30 minutes after leaving her husband and child at home, she spontaneously exits the freeway, checks into a motel, and immerses herself in an entirely different journey. I don't even really know what this one's about, to be honest. I've just been hearing really great things. I know a lot of people who have really similar taste to me are really liking this one. So when I saw it there, I was like, all right, let's go, let's do it. I've been eyeballing this book for a long time, so like I was just really excited to get my hands on it. Those are all of the different books that I have hauled recently. Oh my gosh, I know it was so many. I feel like there are so many of these books that I am trying to prioritize like sooner rather than later, especially some of these books that feel like they're gonna be perfect to read in the summertime. I'm like, oh my god, the time is running out. Like the time is getting away from me. I just can't believe that the end of summer is gonna be here before we know it. So like I'm trying to get through as many of these books as I can. But thank you so much for watching this video. You'll have to let me know, have you read any of these books that I've hauled? Please let me know your thoughts, especially on the ones that I'm a little bit uncertain about. Like I would love to know if you think it's going to be something that I would enjoy. And please do let me know in the comments, what is the most exciting book that you've hauled recently? Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!